My name is Viraman Soham Basu, and I'm going to be doing a presentation on Solenopsis invicta, or the red imported fire ant. So these are the classifications and attributes. It's an insect and an ant, so that'll give off some characteristics that we will discuss about later, or talk about later. The most interesting part of fire ants are that they are ants. Ants are eusocial species, meaning that they live together and work for each other in a highly organized social structure. These colonies are able to accomplish amazing feats like surviving floods by creating a raft to float, or crossing terrain by making bridges. Fire ants generally have, or they have one queen. They have workers that are female and males. The queen is tasked with laying out the initial part of the colony by producing a tunneling system, starting to lay eggs, and providing food source at the initial part of these eggs. When the first workers come out, those females start the process of laying out this colony that will continue to thrive for years upon end. But the workers are generally female. They gather food. They work to tend for the eggs. The males do not live long after they mate, and that's pretty much their only purpose is to mate. Fire ant colonies do not have an iconic exit hole at the top of their mound. Their exits extend outward almost like roots. Inside the mound, they are like in extremely tight chambers that hold larvae, food storage, the queen's den, etc. Colonies are able to grow up to like 25 feet deep. They can become very massive depending on the age of the colony. Surviving conditions for the fire ant colonies. The fire ants are an extremely versatile set of ants. They can produce mounds in almost any soil, preferring open sunny meadows. This is what makes them ideal for suburban areas where they tend to invade. And they're also generalist omnivores, so they can pretty much live almost anywhere. Fire ant biomes. Ants are extremely adaptable. Their socially advanced communities allow them to innovate and survive in almost any climate except for the coldest. In deserts, you will find successful ant colonies producing deep tunnels to avoid heat. Fire ants in particular will find success in warm temperature climates with access of regular supply of water. This is why they tend to live on the coast. They tend to, or coastal to a little bit inland of coastal. And also tend to live in temperate to tropical areas. They are originally from the rainforest biome, which I think we talk about in the next slide. Yes, life in the rainforest. The life in the rainforest, the original biome, they were adapted to be an extremely hardy species. They have venom that allows them to compete versus other insects, and their eusocial colonies allow them to have a very defensive and offensive amount of abilities. Their survivability is extremely innovative and adaptable. The flora and fauna of the region will provide them a great amount of resources, but also a great amount of dangers. Anteaters, monkeys, spiders, and other larger insects tend to pose a threat to ant colonies. However, with greater numbers, they're able to swarm larger insects, but of course monkeys and anteaters tend to overwhelm these colonies. Fire ants in other biomes. So as mentioned before, fire ants are formidable as an invasive species. They can produce colonies in almost any type of soil. They, especially in the suburban temperate regions, they tend to just populate the areas as pests because there is an abundant amount of food and not many predators aside from humans. So fire ant interactions. Fire ants are generalists, they're pests, and they're decomposers. They will eat almost anything. They'll eat seeds, insects, they'll eat fresh fruit, decomposing fruit, carcasses of insects. They will tend to avoid alive insects, but in the case of when they're being attacked, they will defend themselves and then use the insect's body as food. They have a mutualistic relationship with aphid honeydew. with aphids. Aphids secrete a honeydew that is a sugary substance that the fire ants love and provides them energy. The fire ants will protect the aphids. Competition. So fire ants are an extremely successful, aggressive, invasive species that tend to outcompete other ant species because of their venom. They're able to survive extremely well and thrive because of their venom. They attack other ant colonies, and when they're defending versus other ant colonies, they can swarm, and their venom will incapacitate most any bug of their size. So these are the general positions of the carbon cycle surrounding them. Much like other creatures, they consume food, they respirate, they will decompose when they die, they will biomineralize using the creatine on their exoskeleton, and over time, if given time and condition, their compressing their body will produce fossil fuels. So this is a parasitic relationship. There's a fungus out there that will lay its spores inside insects. In this case, an ant. The ants will wander aimlessly until they're going to climb to the top of a branch. Actually, I believe that these ants will do this on purpose in order to stay as far away from the other ant colony as possible, so that the other ants do not get contaminated with the spores. The fungus will use the ant's body to bud and produce. It will take the energy and carbon out of the ant and will grow out of the brainstem, or it will grow out of the head. Sorry, it will stem out of the head. So will climate change affect fire ant species? As mentioned before, they tend to populate around coastal regions and tropical to temperate regions. So this being said, as climate change melts the ice caps and the sea levels begin to rise, the coastal regions will start to move inward, and the overall range of latitude will increase, because fire ants will be able to withstand the immense amount of heat that will be happening in the tropics, and will be able to withstand, or will be able to thrive in the temperate areas, while the coastal regions will shrink its overall, will move the coastal regions more inland. So this is the native range. This is where they're originally from, southern part of Brazil, going into like Ecuador and Paraguay. While this is the current range, they will populate in areas like New Zealand, Australia, India. North America has been infested with these invasive generalists, and these are our references.